Beneath the allure of global fame and fortune lies a secret that could upend lives, legacies, and history itself. Larry Hillblom, a billionaire founder of DHL, wasn't just a man of immense wealth. He was a man of mysteries. Known for his eccentric lifestyle and a seemingly endless charm, he built empires in the shipping industry and etched his name into the annals of business history. But behind the facade of success, Larry carried a penchant for fleeting affairs, leaving behind a trail of whispers and untold stories. One such story begins in Vietnam, where his journey as an ambitious investor took a personal and unexpected turn. This is a tale of a chance meeting, a child born in secrecy, and a legal battle that captivated the world. With Larry's untimely death, a storm of revelations would change the lives of many forever. Brace yourself for a journey of love, loss, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Larry Hillblom was no stranger to making headlines. As the co-founder of DHL, he built a logistics empire worth hundreds of millions, a legacy that stretched across the globe. By the late 2000s, his restless spirit brought him to Vietnam, a country teeming with potential and ripe for investment. Larry saw opportunity where others hesitated. His decision to dive into Vietnam's burgeoning hospitality and tourism sector wasn't just strategic, it was bold. He acquired hotels, transforming them into luxurious 4-star establishments, and built an 18-hole golf course hailed as one of the most stunning in Asia. His vision was clear: to turn Vietnam into a playground for affluent travelers. Yet, Larry's presence in Vietnam wasn't solely about business. Beneath his rugged exterior, characterized by worn jeans and casual t-shirts, was a man with a charisma that transcended language barriers. He rarely flaunted his wealth, and this humility often disarmed those around him. Amid his busy schedule of boardroom meetings and golf course openings, Larry's life took a fateful turn when he crossed paths with Bay, a young housekeeper working at one of his hotels. Bay's life was a far cry from the glamorous world Larry inhabited. Coming from a poor rural background, she had secured her job at the hotel through a distant relative. At just 18, she was a thin, sunburnt girl, shy yet diligent. Over time, her hard work and humble nature caught the attention of her supervisors, eventually landing her a position in Larry's hotel. Unbeknownst to Bay, the man she referred to simply as the boss was a billionaire. Larry's unassuming nature confused her. He would walk past in jeans and sneakers, earning nods of respect from the staff and guests alike. He was unlike anyone she had ever met. Their interactions began innocently enough, a passing glance here, a polite question there. Larry's charm was understated, but Bay found herself drawn to his kind demeanor. Over time, their encounters became more frequent, and a spark ignited. For Larry, Bay was a breath of fresh air in a world where people often sought him out for his wealth. For Bay, Larry was a mystery, a man of power who treated her with genuine kindness. Their whirlwind romance was both passionate and fleeting. But reality came crashing down when Bay discovered she was pregnant. Fear consumed her. How could she tell Larry, her enigmatic employer, about the child growing inside her? Desperate and overwhelmed, Bay made a heart-wrenching decision. She left her job at the hotel and returned to her impoverished home in the countryside. Months later, Bay gave birth to a baby boy who bore an uncanny resemblance to Larry. She named him Lory, a combination of her name and Larry's. A small mistake during the birth certificate process led to a typo, and the name Lory was born. Bay's life became a daily struggle to provide for her son. Their home was a dilapidated shack, and their meals were often meager. But Bay found joy in watching Lory grow. Despite their hardships, she loved her son deeply and raised him with as much care as she could muster. Their lives seemed destined for obscurity until a friend of Bay's intervened. Moved by the boy's resemblance to Larry, this friend took photographs of Bay and Lory, sending them to a contact within Larry's circle. The images eventually made their way to Larry himself. The billionaire, shocked and intrigued, realized he had a son he never knew existed. But before he could act, tragedy struck. Life in Bay's small village was a far cry from the luxury Larry Hillblom once provided. As Bay watched her son Lory grow, she couldn't help but notice the uncanny resemblance he bore to his father, his sharp features, piercing eyes, and even the way he carried himself. But in their humble surroundings, none of this seemed to matter. Bay was focused on survival, not the impossibility of proving a connection to a man who was thousands of miles away. Lory's childhood was marked by poverty but also by the simple joys of rural life. He played in the fields, caught crickets, and climbed trees with the other children in the village. His mother worked tirelessly, often skipping meals so Lory could eat. Despite their hardships, Bay poured all her love into raising her son, determined to give him a future, no matter how bleak their circumstances seemed. When Lory was just a baby, Bay's friend, a former co-worker at Larry's hotel, visited her. Upon seeing Lory, the friend was struck by the boy's striking resemblance to Larry. "You need to tell him," the friend urged, offering to help. Though Bay was hesitant, she eventually agreed. Photos of Bay and Lory were taken and discreetly passed on to someone within Larry's circle. Larry received the photos and could not deny the resemblance. However, before he could respond or investigate further, the unimaginable happened. Larry's private seaplane went down during a routine flight in late 2011. His body was never recovered. News of Larry's death spread like wildfire. The business world mourned the loss of a visionary, but behind the scenes, a storm was brewing. Almost immediately, dozens of individuals came forward, claiming to be Larry's children, each demanding a share of his estate. For Bay and Lory, the news barely registered. In their remote village, they had little access to outside information, and their focus remained on surviving each day. It wasn't until much later that Bay learned of Larry's death, setting in motion a chain of events that would pull her and her son into the global spotlight. Larry Hillblom's death marked the beginning of one of the most contentious inheritance battles in history. With an estate valued at over $600 million, the stakes were astronomical. But the path to proving paternity was fraught with complications. Larry's body had never been recovered, leaving no direct DNA evidence. His mother, the only surviving family member, initially refused to cooperate. The estate's administrators, backed by an army of nearly 100 lawyers, were determined to protect the fortune. Bay was initially reluctant to step forward. The thought of entering a legal battle against powerful figures from another country was daunting. But with the encouragement of her friend and the desperate hope of securing a better life for Lory, she reached out to John Vieg, a lawyer specializing in Larry's inheritance cases. Vieg was known for his tenacity, and he agreed to take on Bay's case. The first step was proving Lory's connection to Larry. Without Larry's DNA, investigators needed to find alternative sources. Larry's personal items, razors, toothbrushes, even strands of hair, had mysteriously vanished. His homes and cars had been scrubbed clean, leaving no trace of biological evidence. Even medical facilities Larry had visited in the past no longer retained records or samples. The challenges seemed insurmountable, but Vieg was relentless. He petitioned Larry's mother, eventually persuading her to provide a DNA sample. It was a breakthrough that offered a glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, the courtroom drama intensified. More than 10 children claimed to be Larry's offspring, each supported by legal teams armed with evidence, testimonies, and photos. Bay found herself thrust into a whirlwind of media attention. Headlines called her the Vietnamese Cinderella, but not all the attention was kind. Critics questioned her motives, accusing her of fabricating the story for financial gain. Despite the scrutiny, Bay stood firm. For her, this wasn't about the money, it was about securing a future for her son. Lory was no ordinary boy, he was Larry Hillblom's blood, and Bay would fight to prove it. Months turned into years as the legal battle dragged on. Finally, in 2012, after extensive negotiations and countless delays, Larry's mother agreed to the DNA test. The results were undeniable. Of the many claimants, only 4 were confirmed as Larry's biological children, 1 from Guam, 2 from the Philippines, and Lory. The confirmation was both a victory and a new beginning. Lory was officially recognized as Larry Hillblom's son and became entitled to a portion of the inheritance. But the journey was far from over. The estate's administrators, wary of public perception and legal risks, imposed strict conditions on the distribution of funds. Lory's share was placed in a trust, to be managed until he came of age. For Bay, the moment was bittersweet. She had won the battle, but the scars of the fight were deep. Her son's future was secure, but their lives had been irrevocably changed. In the quiet of their modest home, Bay reflected on the journey that had brought them here, a journey marked by love, loss, and an unyielding determination to uncover the truth. The confirmation of Larry Hillblom's 4 biological children was a legal triumph, but the road leading to it was harrowing and fraught with challenges. The question of paternity had sparked one of the most grueling inheritance battles in history, and for Bay and her son Lory, every step felt like navigating a labyrinth with no clear end in sight. The first obstacle was the absence of Larry's DNA. His body, lost in the plane crash, was never recovered. Investigators initially pinned their hopes on personal belongings, hairbrushes, razors, or even a toothbrush. Yet these items had vanished under suspicious circumstances. Larry's homes, cars, and private jets were thoroughly sanitized, leaving no biological trace behind. The search extended to places Larry frequented, clinics, hospitals, and dental offices where he had received treatment. Yet each lid turned cold. Medical records had been destroyed or were no longer accessible. Even the meticulous investigators hired by the estate could not locate a shred of evidence. Every avenue seemed closed, every lid a dead end. But Bay's lawyer, John Vieg, was determined. He knew that without DNA evidence, Lory's claim to the inheritance would remain tenuous. Vieg turned his focus to Larry's only living relative, his elderly mother. Persuading her to cooperate was no small feat. Larry's mother, fiercely protective of her son's legacy, had resisted previous attempts to involve her in the legal battles. Vieg launched a relentless campaign, leveraging both legal pressure and personal appeals. After months of negotiations and an escalating media frenzy, she finally relented. A DNA sample was taken, providing the breakthrough they so desperately needed. The results, when they arrived, were irrefutable. Lory, along with 3 others, a child from Guam and 2 from the Philippines, was confirmed as Larry Hillblom's biological child. The announcement sent shockwaves through the legal community and media alike. After years of speculation and legal battles, the truth was finally out. But even with this confirmation, the fight was far from over. The estate, worth over $600 million, was fiercely guarded by a legal team nearly 100 strong. These lawyers represented not only Larry's immediate family but also the University of California, a beneficiary of Larry's will. The stakes were enormous, and the estate's administrators were intent on protecting its assets from what they saw as opportunistic claims. The courtroom battles were intense. Bay and Lory were thrust into a whirlwind of depositions, hearings, and negotiations. Every detail of Bay's life was scrutinized, her motives questioned, her character dissected. The opposition sought to portray her as a gold digger, fabricating a connection to Larry for financial gain. Yet Bay's unwavering resolve and the undeniable DNA evidence ultimately won the day. The court ruled in favor of the 4 confirmed children, granting them a share of the inheritance. For Bay and Lory, this was a vindication, a moment that validated their truth in the face of relentless doubt. The legal settlement established a trust for Lory, safeguarding his portion of the inheritance until he came of age. While the funds were substantial, the court imposed strict oversight, ensuring that the money would be used responsibly and that Lory's future remained secure. For Bay, the victory was bittersweet. She had fought for her son's rightful place in the world, but the battle had come at a cost. The years of struggle had left her exhausted, and the media frenzy had exposed her family to public scrutiny. Yet, as she looked at Lory, now a spirited young boy with a world of possibilities ahead, she knew it had all been worth it. The hunt for proof had been arduous, but in the end, it revealed an unshakable truth. Lory was not just the child of a humble housekeeper, he was the son of a billionaire, destined to carry forward a legacy far greater than Bay could have ever imagined. With the inheritance battle settled and Lory officially recognized as Larry Hillblom's son, Bay's life took another dramatic turn. The court ruling granted Lory a significant share of his father's estate, but it came with conditions. To secure Lory's education and ensure his future, the estate's administrators suggested relocating Bay and her son to the United States, far from the prying eyes of the media and the gossip of their small village. The decision wasn't easy. Vietnam was home, the only life Bay had ever known. Yet, she understood the opportunities that lay ahead for Lory. This was a chance for him to access a world-class education, to live a life she had only dreamed of for him. Swallowing her fears, Bay agreed to the move. Their arrival in the United States was both exhilarating and overwhelming. Bay, who spoke little English, found herself in a world vastly different from the one she left behind. Everything felt foreign, the towering skyscrapers, the bustling streets, and the cold, unfamiliar faces of strangers. For Lory, however, the change was thrilling. At 6 years old, his world was full of possibilities, and he embraced his new surroundings with wide-eyed wonder. The family settled in a modest town on the East Coast, chosen for its quiet, safe environment and reputable schools. The estate's trustees provided them with a comfortable home and ensured that Lory was enrolled in a prestigious private school. While the transition was smoother for Lory, Bay struggled with feelings of isolation. She missed her family, the simplicity of her village, and the comfort of her native language. Still, Bay's determination never wavered. She took English classes at night and worked tirelessly to adapt to her new environment. Her love for Lory was her guiding force, and she poured all her energy into supporting his education and happiness. Lory thrived in his new life. His natural curiosity and intelligence quickly earned him the admiration of his teachers and classmates. He excelled academically and showed an early aptitude for leadership. But as he grew older, questions about his father began to surface. Why had his life taken such a drastic turn? Who was Larry Hillblom, and what kind of man was he? Bay chose her words carefully whenever Lory asked about his father. She wanted him to understand the truth, but also to focus on the future rather than dwell on the past. "Your father was a great man in many ways," she told him one evening, "but he was also human. What matters now is the life you choose to build for yourself." As Lory continued to adapt to his new surroundings, the legacy of Larry Hillblom loomed large. The trust established in his name was managed with care, ensuring that it grew over time. While Lory was too young to access the funds, the estate's administrators invested wisely, increasing its value significantly. Bay remained vigilant, ensuring that Lory's life, despite its newfound luxury, stayed grounded. She instilled in him the values of hard work, humility, and kindness, qualities she believed were more important than wealth. Together, they built a life that blended the opportunities of their new world with the simple joys of their old one. Yet, the past was never far behind. Occasionally, reporters would track them down, eager for updates on the Vietnamese Cinderella and her son. Bay shielded Lory from the attention as best as she could, but she knew that one day, he would have to confront his father's legacy head-on. For now, Bay focused on giving Lory the best possible start in life. She knew that their journey was far from over, but as she watched her son flourish, she felt a deep sense of pride. Against all odds, they had carved out a place for themselves in a world that had once seemed unreachable. This chapter of their lives was one of adjustment, growth, and quiet triumph. But Bay understood that the road ahead would bring new challenges, and she was ready to face them with the same strength and resilience that had carried her this far. As Lory grew older, the shadow of his inheritance began to take shape. By the time he was a teenager, he was aware that his life was different from those of his peers. The private school, the carefully managed trust, and the occasional whispers about his father's name all hinted at the magnitude of what awaited him. Yet, Lory remained grounded, thanks to Bay's unwavering guidance. Bay was determined to shield him from the pitfalls of wealth. "Money can open doors," she told him one day, "but it can also build walls. What you do with it will define you." Her words stayed with Lory, shaping his view of the privilege he had inherited. Behind the scenes, the trust administrators worked tirelessly to grow the fortune. They invested in real estate, technology, and other lucrative ventures, ensuring the estate's value continued to rise. By the time Lory turned 16, his portion had grown significantly. While he wasn't yet allowed access to the funds, the enormity of the wealth loomed over him like a silent force. At school, Lory excelled in academics and sports, earning the respect of his teachers and classmates. But he couldn't escape the questions. "Is it true your dad was a billionaire?" a friend asked one day. Lory hesitated, unsure how to respond. The weight of his legacy was a double-edged sword, something to be proud of, yet something he barely understood. Meanwhile, Bay watched her son navigate this delicate phase of life with a mix of pride and apprehension. She had worked so hard to ensure that Lory remained humble, but she couldn't ignore the changes around them. Invitations to elite social events began to arrive, accompanied by people eager to associate themselves with the son of a billionaire. Lory, for his part, handled the attention with grace. He had learned from his mother's example that character mattered more than status. While he was curious about his father's life, he also felt the pressure of expectations, both from the outside world and from within. Bay knew that as Lory approached adulthood, the challenges would only grow. The estate's administrators began preparing him for the eventual transfer of control, offering him lessons in financial management, investments, and philanthropy. They framed it as an opportunity, but to Lory, it often felt like a burden. One evening, as they sat together in their modest living room, Lory turned to Bay. "Do you think I'm ready for all this?" he asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Bay looked at her son, now taller than her, with the sharp features of his father but the gentle heart she had nurtured. "You're ready because you know it's not about the money," she said. "It's about the life you create and the people you help along the way." Her words gave Lory a sense of purpose, a reminder that his inheritance was a tool, not a measure of his worth. Though the path ahead was daunting, Lory faced it with the quiet strength he had inherited from his mother. His journey was far from over, but he was determined to honor both his father's legacy and his mother's sacrifices. By the time Lory turned 21, the moment had arrived. Years of preparation, lessons in responsibility, and stories about his father's complicated legacy had led to this pivotal day. The trust, now estimated to be worth nearly $100 million, was set to transfer into his name. Lory had grown into a confident young man, thanks to his mother's unwavering guidance and the values she instilled in him. As he sat across from the estate's administrators, Lory listened intently to the final details of the transfer. The magnitude of what was happening wasn't lost on him. This wealth was more than just a number, it was a symbol of his connection to a father he never truly knew, a reminder of the sacrifices his mother had made, and an opportunity to create something meaningful. Lory's first act as a young billionaire surprised many. He announced the establishment of a foundation in his father's name, dedicated to providing education and healthcare to underprivileged communities in Vietnam and beyond. "This is what my mother taught me," he explained at the press conference. "It's not about what you have, it's about what you can give." For Bay, The announcement was a culmination of everything she had fought for. Standing at the back of the room, she watched her son speak with poise and conviction. Tears filled her eyes, but they weren't just tears of pride. They were tears of relief, knowing that Lory had not been consumed by the weight of his inheritance. Lory's journey, shaped by love, loss, and perseverance, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Bay's sacrifices and Larry's complicated legacy came together to create a future filled with hope and purpose. What do you think about this incredible story of struggle and triumph? If you were in Lory's position, how would you handle such immense responsibility? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your feedback is invaluable and helps us bring you even better content. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we hope you leave inspired. Wishing you an amazing experience and the best of luck.